What up, what up, what up? This is Mike the Philosopher here with another one. This is part 2 of the Dr. Umar Johnson interview. Okay. Shout out to Daily Rapupcrew, man. Y'all nailed this interview. And this is part 2 of it. I thought I'd put my 2 cents in it. Without further ado, let's go in.
And black people got to be careful about raising the importance of other people's issues to our own. Because by doing that, you reduce the quality of your own fight.
Right.
Because nobody else has been through what you've been through here. Everybody in America showed up as an immigrant. We're the only people who showed up as imports. Why would you dare make the gay struggle equal? Why would you dare make the Arab or Asian struggle equal? Ridiculous. When those Asian women were murdered in Atlanta, which was a tragedy, and I didn't have a problem with the president making a law against it. But my problem was you had about 8 to a dozen Asian women get murdered in one night.
And it was
As a result of
urgency.
one night.
Yep.
One night. The president and vice president flew down to Atlanta and met with the Asian community. He passed an executive order almost overnight. A congressional bill came, anti-Asian hate, unanimously passed. Almost overnight. My issue with that, one Asian tragedy, they get a personal meeting with the president and vice president. They get an executive order. They get a federal law that makes it illegal to even use a racial slur. We've been here 400 years. You ain't never flew down and met with us face to face after no tragedy. When that damn devil walked into that supermarket in Buffalo, New York and murdered those Africans, when Dylan Roof walked into that church in Charleston, South Carolina, murdered those Africans, we didn't even get a face to face meeting from the president of the United States, who was black at the time, Barack Obama. But this is what you do for the Asians? And then you sign an executive order? And then you sign an anti-Asian hate? Where's the anti-black hate?
I don't want to sound dumb, but they would have to deal with their people. Who do we have that would support us?
I agree with you. The reason they responded to the Asians the way that they did is
they got
because
somebody
the
to call
Asians-
home.
Absolutely. You have China, you have Japan,
Who do black
you have
Americans have to
countries
call?
who have political power
Yes,
that America has relationships with that they can't afford to lose.
exactly.
And you will have to answer. There will be political, economic consequences for letting our people get mistreated in your land. We don't have that. And the reason we don't have that is because we have not helped to build a single African state into the power base we need her to be so she can speak out for us. We have used our money to empower
Understandable.
all these nationalities and use almost none of it to empower Africa, the very continent we need to do what you just said. Be strong enough to be a diplomatic voice for American Africa.
But this is why I asked you before which one is more important to fix first. Because if we had that power behind us, wouldn't it be easier for us to make moves over here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it would be easier for us to make moves over there. Say, for instance, it's Ghana, right? We'll just go to Ghana instead of trying to duke it out here in America, And he's right. We don't have enough economic pull. The problem is Ghana don't have enough pull in America. We could uplift Ghana, but let's face it, man. Let's just keep it real. And I'm not saying it's about Ghana. I'm just saying this stigma is throughout Africa. And even continental Africans know this. A lot of African countries and politicians are corrupt, man. Okay? Black people don't really have enough confidence that if they send money and they build up Ghana, for instance, just an example, they build up Ghana, that Ghana is going to do what it's supposed to do to be a political force for Americans in America. And meanwhile, Ghana is getting richer and richer, and then it gets more and more expensive to be in Ghana. It gets more and more, everybody's living lavish in Ghana, and then we look back and say, Ghana, help us out here. And Ghana is like, hey, thanks for the money. And I'm not saying that Ghana is going to do that. I'm just using them as an example. But what I'm saying is a big part of this is we got to get rid of corruption in Africa before we can even trust on doing this. And I don't necessarily see that happening anytime soon. But the truth of the matter is, we don't have a homeland to reach back to because a lot of America don't deal with Africa like that. There's not a whole lot of commerce going on from America to Africa. I'm not saying there's none, but there's not a whole lot. And they don't do the type of business that Asian countries do, Japan, China, stuff like that. They don't do that those kind of numbers that they do. I mean, we talking about billions of dollars with Asian countries. We don't got those connections. We ain't doing billions of dollars with any African countries. We're just not. So the incentive to keep relationships in good standing don't exist. So we can treat the black people here like second-class citizens because there is no incentive not to. You know, a bully is going to bully as long as they know they can get away with it. Facts. Let's go in.
If we had that power in Africa, absolutely.
Yeah.
But we're not building the power, though. In other words, we should be in Africa right now. I'm sending you to Ghana. I'm sending you to Nigeria. I'm sending you to Namibia. I'm going to go to Ethiopia. We're going to sit down with the president. Listen, we are a $2 trillion people.
Yeah.
We need you to be able to speak up for us.
Would it be hard to get dual citizenship?
What are the economic slave chains that America has around your economy? What are the economic slave chains America has around your economy? And what could we do with our education and income to weaken those chains so one day they can fall? Africa would love to do business with us instead of the World Bank or the International Monetary Fund or the French government or the Belgian government or the German government. They would rather do the business with us. But the problem with black folks, we are comfortable and content being American slaves. We're not looking at the global ramifications of our irresponsible behavior. We're not looking at the global needs of our people. We are content with this America the way that it is. We are comfortable being treated like 21st century slaves. Because if
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think we're comfortable being treated like slaves. I just think that we don't have there's no African countries really claiming African Americans. So how can we feel comfortable with sending them money and building their infrastructure and getting them ready if they don't, believe it or not, there are some African countries that look at African Americans and put their nose up at African Americans. I'm not saying all. So I know maybe some African people watching. I'm not saying all, but I know there are some. Okay, let's just be real. Let's just be honest. We have to build a relationship with African countries first. And we don't have a relationship with African countries. I think the one that we have the most relationship with is Ghana. I think, now make no mistake, pretty much everybody in every African country knows about us. But African Americans know very little about African countries. I mean, we're in one country, they're in 54. So it's hard to know what's going on in all of those countries. We don't have a good understanding of what's going on in those countries. But everybody our culture is, sent through our music and stuff like that, and everybody still rocks with that. But what we have to work on is relationships. We have to work on relationships. A committee that goes to these countries and talks to these people and build a relationship, apply trust, know that even if we do send help their country out, they're going to not be corrupt. And everything is quid pro quo. What we're going to get out of it? What are we as African Americans going to get out of it? Citizenship, land. Are you going to give us citizenship and land in Africa, in your country? Because what we don't want to hear is, oh yeah, you can send us all your money, but you're not getting nothing from us. No, that's not going to work. It's not going to work. So we need to build relationships with African countries first. But the problem still remains is that none of the African countries has enough influence in America to really help with political change in America. They're all, you know, stepchildren to America. China and you know Japan, those countries are, you know, adopted children. Okay, they love them like their own. But African countries, they're the kids down the street that nobody talks to, and you know steps on your lawn every now and then, and you don't care for them too much, and you're not getting much from them. So that's how America views China and African countries. Let's go back in.
So let me ask you this question, right? Just to go back to the dating outside your race. You once said that dating interracially is a form of self-hatred.
Absolutely.
Why do you believe that?
Absolutely. Because why do you want to stare in the face of a member of the people who have committed the greatest human atrocities against your people? These are the people.
Is that only specifically to white people, or do you mean if they date an Asian woman or Indian woman? Is that still the same?
Well, I got two answers. If we dealing with white people,
Right.
Yeah.
why would you want one of them after what they've done to us and continue to do? Because your white girlfriend's still a racist. She still doesn't value black life. You understand? That white man Serena Williams is married to, he don't value black life. You understand? That white woman that took $1 billion from Tiger Woods,
Yeah.
she don't value black life, right? I could give you countless examples of people I've met in therapy who were called the N-word by white husbands and white wives. You understand me? White people who have sex with you. Didn't the slave master sleep with our mothers and grandmothers? So just because they land in the bed with you, what makes you think that they shed their racism? They don't. White people are racist. All white people are racist. There's no exceptions. They may not all be bigots, but they're all racist. Yeah. They all want their people to dominate unfairly the resources, the opportunities, and the privileges of this society.
Wow. Now, you know, I am going to make a comment on this, and I kind of understand where he's coming from, and he's right. Even the slave masters did sleep with the women of, you know, the race. Did that mean they wasn't racist? No, it don't. However, I don't think it's a form of self-hate to date someone outside of your race. Now, he I think right now he's talking about strictly European people or Caucasian people. So I can probably understand his take on that scale. I can't necessarily say I agree if it's of another culture like Asian or Indian, or Indians really just date each other though. They don't really date black people like that. Or Hispanic or Latino or someone of that nature. I don't necessarily consider it self-hate if you do date one of those other races, because some of those races have some African in them, believe it or not. Some Asians have black in them. Some Latinos have black in them. Some East Indians have black in them. So, you know, it's not, I think there's a gray area there where you're still dealing with a person who may have some African DNA, believe it or not. So I don't consider it self-hate. Now, it probably could apply if you are dealing with the people who oppressed you. It really doesn't make a whole lot of sense to date someone who or people who oppressed you, because they had to have come up in a society. And listen, this culture of racism is taught. It's baked into American culture. It just is what it is. Can't anybody get around it. Black people, white people, other other cultures or races. Nobody can get around it. It's baked into America. So they inherently are racist. And black people are inherently have feelings of oppression, really. So I would correct the doc and say, listen, it's not self-hate if it's of another race, but if it's of the race that oppressed your people and is it probably could apply to those people, because you got to know that they set the system up for their people to be on top and your people to be on bottom. And a marriage or sex is not going to change that viewpoint. It's almost like a religion. Okay, people don't just change religions like that. It's almost like a religion. It's baked into you from birth. Anyway, let's go back in.
So
Every white person.
What about the people that just say love is love, right?
Who believes love is love?
I mean, that's most people's answer.
Most
when they
who? That
talk
might be
about-
most black people. Love ain't love for most white folks. Everything white people do has a political purpose. Everything white people do has a political purpose. Ain't no love is love with white folks.
Would we be considered racist if we only date within our race?
No, that's what you call race loyalty. And racism is a group system
Yeah.
of exploitation, discrimination, oppression, bias, where one group seeks to deny all members of another group their fair share of resources, opportunities, and privileges. You know why you can't be a racist? You don't own a damn thing white people need in order to live.
True.
White people need you for nothing, but you need them. Whose schools our kids go to? Theirs.
True.
Our money in whose banks? Theirs. Who's building the houses we need to rent and buy? Them. Who's shipping our stuff around the world that we need to order to live? Them. You follow me? They don't need us for shit. We need them for everything. We are as dependent on white people today as we was when slavery ended 157 years ago.
I've seen a video of yours where you said that feminism has conditioned black women to view black men as the enemy.
It has. Feminism was financed by the CIA. Gloria, what was her name? Gloria Steinem, I think she was.
Right, yeah.
Mother of modern feminism, because traditional feminism goes back to the 1800s, right? With Susan B. Anthony and those white supremacists. But Gloria Steinem was a CIA agent. They financed her. Her first feminist magazine they paid for. The CIA brought feminism into the white household to get the woman out the house, and into the black household to turn the black woman against the black man. To scapegoat us for problems caused for her by white supremacy.
So, obviously, a big thing, obviously, we spoke about the gender wars, earlier. Obviously, there's a lot of...
Well, let me say this real quick. To get I think, they did do that and finance the whole feminist movement, but I don't necessarily think it was targeted at black people specifically. I think it was designed to get the women out of the house, period. Okay, it was designed to get women out of the house, period, because they needed to create a new economy, and that new economy meaning double the inventory. So say, for instance, instead of having the women live with the men, let's have them buy their own house. So we're going to have to help the women get out of the house of the men so that we can sell double the inventory of houses, cars, boats, whatever. Double everything. If you want your economy to grow, you have to start separating the people. And if there's not enough people in the country and everybody is coupling up, well, that's not making much money. how can we double the money that the country makes? Well, we have to sell more houses. We have to sell more cars. We have to sell more, more bank accounts, more everything. And the only way to do that is to get the woman out of the house. Then we can double our inventory. But we got to help these women do it. So we're going to make laws like alimony, and we're going to make laws like child support, and we're going to make it so that these women get some money in their accounts to help them make this transition, because we got lots of stuff to sell. Okay, so families is bad for business. Families is bad for business in the U.S. The best setup is have a mother, father living in two different homes, and the father is paying either alimony, child support, or both, and that money is going to the women. That's sustaining the man, that's sustaining the woman, that's sustaining the child, and there ain't nobody got to live with nobody. And we sold them both a house to live in, and both of them cars to drive, and everything is separate. Our inventory just doubled and tripled. Okay, but if they're all under one roof, it's hard to make money. All they need is one house. All they need is one car. Okay, and people don't understand that feminism is a measure and a design to separate families and really to make money off of individuals. And unfortunately, the women bought it hook, line, and sinker. But how can you blame them when the country is giving them incentives to move? Ladies, don't worry about it. You have a child with a man, we're going to help you sue him for child support. We're going to help you sustain your own house, your own car. And then you can shout loud and proud, I'm an independent woman. All the women who independent, throw your hands up at them and be proud to be a woman. You don't need a family. You don't need a husband. You can do all of this just by yourself, and we're going to help you. Okay? Women bought a hook, line, and sinker. And unfortunately, they had a hand in I guess you could say deconstructing the family. But the system and the country knows the weakness of a woman, and they know the weakness of a man. What's the weakness of a man? The weakness of a man is intimacy, sex. So he gonna have kids. So we gotta have something in place to punish him for having kids. And we're gonna call it child support. And if he don't pay it, we're gonna send him to jail. Okay? They know the weakness of a woman. The weakness of a woman is money. Okay? We're gonna give her what she wants. And we're going to incentivize her to leave. The only way this is going to work is if we find a way to rob Peter and pay Paul so that we can get what we want. And it worked like a charm. Still working to this day. And it probably can't be any worse than what it is today. And it has caused a divide, but the country doesn't care because the country makes the most money this way. In other countries, India and China and stuff, they got 1 billion people. We only got 300, maybe 400 million. We don't have as many, about 350 million. We don't have as many people here. And you got to double the inventory, especially if you're the richest country in the world. You got to keep capitalism going. So to the men and to the women that's watching this, your feminism, your independence was paid for by your country, Uncle Sam. And they don't want you to be a family. They implanted independence in women and hatred for opposite sex. They're probably still doing that online to keep people separated because they are making money off of you. And when the states do child support, they get $1 for every dollar collected. So the people who lose the most is the children because they don't have their parents together. The men lose because they got to pay alimony and child support most of the time. Sometimes women do, but the majority is really designed for the men. Let's keep it real. And women have always wanted to be, considered on the same level as men. So, and not to say that they weren't, but they wanted to play a different role. How they sold the woman into going to work instead of being taken care of is a big mystery, but you have a whole bunch of feminists who sold that idea and women bought into it. Yeah, I want to go to work and get a job and I want to do what the men do. So now if everybody's acting like men going to work, you got more employees, you got more industry, you got more ideas from women, you got more houses to sell, you got more cars to sell. It was the solution to because it happened probably around the Great Depression era, and they learned from that, and it was like, look, we gotta ramp up capitalism here, okay? Because these families is for the birds. We have a limited amount of employees. They're only men, and they all live in one house. They all have one car. This, that, and the third. We have to do something to disrupt this. It worked. Women bought it hook, line, and sinker. Men were forced into it because, let's face it, men don't like none of this. We'd rather have our women, catering to us and taking care of the family, taking care of the kids. But instead, we have to deal with her working now. Prices go up, so now it's at a point where you can't even live in the country now because inflation has taken over, and you have to have a 2-income household in most houses now. You can't have it where the woman the dollar used to be worth a whole lot more. Man have a job, he could buy a house. Can't do that stuff no more. You got to have 2 incomes just to sustain, and even that's hard these days. But with everybody working, that drove up inflation. The prices of everything went skyrocketed, still are, and it just created a mess for the entire country. That's why I think the economy of America is going to bust, and it's going to be the downfall of this country. But that's why feminism was created, and for the time, I can understand they needed that boost of workers and income, but it's going to be the downfall of this country. Let's go back in.
Conversation nowadays about the value of what a woman brings and the value of what a man brings in a relationship, and now there's a lot more rhetoric from our women that we hear is, I'm strong, independent, I don't need no man, right? So,
That's pain speaking, though.
Right.
Because most black women know they will never get a man. A black woman can have sex whenever she wants.
Right.
Because she's beautiful. She can have a bed mate, but to have a soul mate, she may never get. I have 2 daughters, 11 and 20, right? My oldest will be 21 this week. Statistically, right? There's a strong chance my daughter could be one of those. I hope she's not. She could be one of those who never get a husband because only 1 out of 4 gets a husband. You see that? So when a black woman says, I don't need a man, that is a reaction to the reality that I may not get a man.
So why not preach?
I don't necessarily agree with that. I just think that most of them don't want a man, okay? There are a lot of black men out there that are not ready to be husbands, and I think a lot of the women, believe it or not, I think a lot of the women think that they are better than the men. So they say, I can do bad all by myself. I don't need no man. A man is just another child to take care of. I'm good. I don't need nobody taking care of me. I don't need nobody trying to boss me around, or just because he the man, I can do this. I can do this life thing by myself. Yeah, the state is helping me, the country is helping me, but I'm strong and independent. And don't look at how they helping me over here, okay? With the jobs, with the child support, the alimony, the welfare. Don't look at all of that. I'm independent, okay? Yeah, I gotta see some secret weapons over here, but don't look at that. Look at me. I'm an independent woman, and I can do this by myself with the help of them. But all you need to know is I can do it by myself. So I don't necessarily agree with Doc that it's because it's not self-hate, but they don't think that they're going to get another man. I just think that most of them don't want another man. They're incentivized not to ever have a man because they get child support and welfare, and it's beneficial for them not to have a man. So a woman is always going to pick money over a man every day of the week, and they're incentivized to do that. But let's go back in.
Because I understood, you're obviously against interracial relations when it comes to black
Absolutely.
men with black women. With white women.
With all women. You should only be with the black woman.
And you will say, well, if you can't find a good woman in America, there's
somewhere
plenty
else.
in Africa.
Absolutely.
So why not teach that same rhetoric to our women? Like if you feel
I tell sisters all the time, go to Africa.
So
I know sisters who marry. I just spoke with a sister. She invited me to the wedding. She just married a brother from the continent.
But instead of saying they will never
I'll
get
take
married,
my sisters to Africa who married brothers they met in Africa.
Right.
So yeah,
I think
there's
plenty. I think there's obviously plenty of black men
Yes,
for black
it is.
women. So
And what I
instead of
also
saying that
tell
they'll
black
never
women,
get
if you're going to
married,
go get you an African man from the continent,
right,
you're going to have to understand that the way in which you talk to black men in America will not be tolerated over there.
Why the
It
fuck
is
is
a
But it's
tolerated
not
here?
tolerated here. That's what we're trying to tell them.
Well, over here, I want to say this to us though. Because we try to act like the way sisters treat us doesn't have a history that we are not at least partly responsible for. Let's be honest. The black woman has had to hold down the black house by herself, although imperfectly. She's had to do it by herself since the mass incarceration of black males began in the 1970s.
She had to hold down the black household because she was incentivized to do it by herself. The system's set up to separate her from her man, okay, because the number one public enemy is the black man. Let's be clear, okay? It ain't even the black woman. A lot of them will still lay down with the black woman, but she is incentivized to be independent. It ain't because she got more power, she got more opportunities. It ain't because she's smarter, she's more physically or mentally capable. She just got more government backing her in doing that. And the ultimate goal is to have complete separation between the man and the woman. Okay, what the government don't want is organized families. They seen in the civil rights movement, families, organized black families was a problem. They said we got to get rid of black families because black families can organize much better. We need to give the black woman something so that she can ride for us. And that will disseminate any kind of organization. If everybody is unhappy, we got a problem. So we got to give the person who we feel like is probably not going to build their economy, which is the black woman. She's going to spend 50 going north. And we got to give this money to the woman, because the woman is not going to build anything. The woman is a customer. She's a consumer. She is not a organizer. Men are organizers, not just black men. All men are organizers. So we got to incentivize these women to leave their men, to separate their house, and we ain't got to worry about no uprising. Divide and conquer. That's what the agenda is for the black community. Anyway, let's go back in.
Understand me. Most of our children are raised by a single mother right now. And it has been that way for about 50 years. So when a sister says, I don't need a man, because she couldn't find one strong enough to hold her down. Or when you meet a woman and you say, sister, I'm strong enough to be your man. You ain't got to work, or you ain't got to pay the bills or whatever. Pull back. I got you. And she can't do it because all the other men before you who disappointed her. So what I'm saying is, black men, we got to be patient with our women, because we created that personality.
No, we didn't create that personality. This is where I veer away from the dot. The men didn't create that personality, okay? The government created that personality because they incentivized the woman to be like this, okay? If a woman know that she can get child support, government assistance or whatever, she not gonna care. She will take money over a man any day of the week. Okay, she will take money over a man, even if it's his kids. She don't care. Women think more about survival, and that money is their survival. They're going to choose to survive rather than to stay with a man and not reap the benefits that the government has set aside for her. Okay, for a long time, you couldn't get welfare if you had a man in the house. What do you think that was? Divide and conquer. Okay, well, you got to get out of the house because I got to get this money. You got to get out of the house because I got to get this money. Well, it's going to break up our family. Hey, I don't know what to tell you. It's me over family, okay? And it's going to forever be like that. And the government know that. So when the docs say, oh, well, we created that animal. No, we didn't. The black men didn't do that. We are the effect of a broken home. We are not the cause of a broken home. Let's go back in.
And then we want to act like we didn't play a role.
We have to be held accountable for their poor selection.
No, you have to be held accountable. No, you have to be held accountable because they have a poor selection. No, see, what you're saying, you're selecting a poor mate. And what I'm saying is they don't have much to select one, so of course she's going to end up with a poor mate. And why is she going to end up with a poor mate? Because we as black men are not raising black boys to be the men that our women need. We are not. They out there killing themselves right now. What we doing about it? Unemployed black males, what we doing about it? Pants sagging, weed smoking, what we doing about it? Black men are not raising black boys to be the men our community needs. That is 100% our fault. All
right, black men are not doing raised with black boys. I don't necessarily agree with that either, because listen, black fathers are some of the best fathers out there right now. Let's be clear. They're some of the best fathers out there right now. So just because you're not under the same roof doesn't mean you're not being a father. Okay? You cannot be under the same roof and still be a good father to your kids. The problem is you can't get along with the woman in the house. Okay? For whatever reason. Could be your fault, could be her fault. Doesn't matter. You just can't get along. But does that mean you stop being a father? No. It's easy to view it that way because fathers are the most absent. But this happens in every culture. Okay? But black fathers are some of the best fathers out there. You can check the statistics. The problem is we're dealing with a situation where we are not welcome in the homes by the women, because women don't want to lose favor with their jobs. They don't want to lose favor with the government assistance. They don't want to lose favor with the child support. They don't want to lose favor with the welfare system. They don't want to lose favor with institutions. They're married to the system. They're not married to the men. They already got a husband. They're taken. Okay? And that's from a male perspective. A lot of women may disagree with this, but from a male perspective, that's what that ain't even from a male perspective. It just is what it is. You're gonna have to prove me wrong on that. But women are incentivized to not have men under the same roof. And I guarantee you, if you took away child support, if you took away welfare, if you took away alimony, if you took away all these government assistances, you would find more women married to their men and stay married to their men than you ever have before. Take those systems away. If I'm wrong, take those systems away. If I'm wrong, get rid of those incentives. Get rid of those incentives. If you're accepting child support right now, stop accepting child support. And see what and see what happens. More women will stay married to their men. They will work it out, find a way. Anyway, let's go back in.
What I'm saying is she got a right to be angry with us. She got a right to be angry with us.
I understand
we have
that.
not been on our job as black men. If the men are the providers, what have we been providing for our community? I'm not speaking you individually.
Yes.
Because you may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. You may be a damn good father. But guess what? What are we doing for the community? What are we doing for the children who don't have a father? You don't think the black woman got a right to be angry when she's been raising 2/3 of the kids by herself for 50 years? And the minute she raised her voice, we say she not humble enough? She had to become masculine to survive the rape, the molestation, the domestic abuse. Are you telling me you can't see how we created that?
I understand that, but she needs to be
If we was
more
loving
selective.
our women and taking care of our women, do you think she would be like that? That personality has a history.
If she's picking Pookie and Ray Ray instead of
You're making her a scapegoat.
No, she's picking a scapegoat.
No.
There's good
Can I ask you a
quality
question?
men that they ignore.
Why she even got it? Why is there even a Pookie in the selection?
You gotta ask her that.
No. I'm gonna tell you why there's a Pookie in the selection.
Why?
Because black men have abandoned black boys and have allowed social media, white media, athletes, and rappers to raise them. That's why she.
Hold on, man. Come on, man. Black men have not abandoned their boys. That is ridiculous. Okay, that is ridiculous. I don't know. I don't know any men personally. This is my own anecdote. I don't know any men personally who've abandoned their boys or their daughters, for that matter. It's. I'm not saying some don't do that, because some do that. I actually do know a situation where a guy did abandon his son. But it doesn't happen on a large scale. It just doesn't. Not enough to justify what is actually happening and what's actually going on right now. It doesn't. It's not enough to justify that. Dr. Umar is making it seem as though the men have all the control in this situation. They don't. They don't have all if it were up to the men, we would all be married with our kids under the same roof as us. If it were up to most men, I would say 80% of households will have a man under the roof. Listen, this is something I've been saying a long time. I said this in another show. Government dictates culture. Let me say that again. The government dictates culture. If the culture is to stay, look at India. The culture is for marriage in India. Therefore, the people stay married the longest in India. Divorce, not really heard of. Okay? The government dictate the culture of the people. The people are just pawns in the government's system. I don't want to hear black fathers leave their kids and family. No man wants to leave their seeds if they can help it. But if they are working against a system that wants them gone, and they're working with a woman who is, for all intents and purposes, in bed with the system, okay, and incentivized for me to not be there, I am working against two entities, one at the front line and one in the back. What do you expect me to do? Fight my way in the house? She don't want me there. She don't have to have me there. And she's incentivized not to have me there. She's going to take a check over me every day. Okay? She's going to take a check over me every day. So this whole, the men are not, they're not doing enough to raise their boy and they're abandoning their boys, that is complete bullshit. If you listen, the country can change this with the stroke of a pen. Put in law, no more child support, no more welfare, no more alimony. Women would marry more, stay married more, divorce less. You can change culture with the stroke of a pen from the country. Countries dictate culture. Period. Anyway, let's go back in.
Did black men willingly leave the household, or was it the system that was?
It was
pushing
systemic.
All right. So how,
Right.
if we giving them grace for them having to do it without us, but it wasn't our fault, how
What?
we not getting that same grace and that same respect?
I'm gonna tell you why.
Why?
I'm gonna tell you why. Because black men, as the leaders of the community, now
We can't be leaders.
here's the
Women
question
not
we got to
accepting
make.
that.
Here's the question. Because the argument y'all make feeds into the feminist agenda.
Okay.
It's an argument that says, I don't want the responsibility.
I'm a leader.
I
in
don't
my
want to
home, though.
fix shit.
Yeah.
Right? I'm gonna fall back and let her run everything. That's what the feminists tell. They say, look at them, making excuses for why they can't be better men, making excuses for why they can't make better men. You understand? Your argument feeds the feminist narrative.
That's
and it's
not.
dangerous.
That's not what we're making
That's not,
excuses
that's
for.
what we're not. I'm saying I am the better man, but
Yeah.
I shouldn't be held responsible because you wanted to choose a Pookie and a Ray Ray. That's not me. I worked too
And
hard
I'm
in
gonna
my
go back
life.
to what I said. Pookie and Ray Ray shouldn't exist. And the only reason why Pookie and Ray Ray exist because we're not in the community making those boys the men they need to be. Do you see
right.
that?
And,
She don't.
Look, I have a whole problem with this. Listen, like I said before, man, I don't think the doc understands. He understands it's systemic, but he don't understand that men are never going to win over money. Never. When men, partners, are never going to win over money and privileges and contribution that the country make. let's say, for instance, the country is going to give you, money for 20 years. And it's going to be regardless as to whether or not your relationship works out. It's going to be regardless of if y'all get along. It's going to be regardless of if you lose a job. It's going to be regardless if you can make that income. You will get arrears. It's going to be guaranteed money for 20 years with no stops, and if anything, you can get raises with that money. That's like an annuity. Okay? It's like an annuity. Women are going to choose that shit 1,000 times more than they're going to choose a man. I don't understand why the doc don't get that part. He know it's systemic. See, this is the part where I feel like Dr. Umar is being disingenuous, because I think the guy is smart enough to know this, but he can't say this to the female delegation because he got a lot of followers with them. Okay, and he has a preacher persona, and women love preachers. Women love preachers. The pastor, preachers, preach, doc, preach. They captivate the female mind. A lot of them turn into pimps and stuff like that. Pimps or preachers, okay? Doc is in that category with them. I'm not calling him a pimp or a preacher, well, kind of sort. Well, no, I'm not, but he's a lot smarter than that. But what I'm saying is, he has that persona. And I think he's protecting his female interests. He's not keeping it a buck. Okay? Listen, it's systemic. Women will choose a 20-year annuity that can rise in value over a man in a relationship that could fail at any time. They will choose that shit any day of the week. Okay? As long as you have that in play, men are going to lose. And this thing just, it affects the black community the most. But this ain't just black people. This is white culture too. Hispanic culture too. But they come with some other privileges that makes living with their men still rewarding. But they come with racial privileges. Okay, so they're not being greedy. Black people don't come with no racial privileges. So the women are looking for any privilege they can get. And the privilege that they can get is help from the system. Again, it's the crab in the barrel, it's the meism. They worried about survival. I'm not surprised that the black community is in the situation that they're in. But this is all by design. Again, the country dictates culture. The culture doesn't dictate the country. Okay? It's never going to change until the laws change. Now, people can get together and say, hey, let's change the laws. But you need majority of the vote to change laws. Who is the majority of the population? Women. You think women are going to change a law that they're benefiting from? Why would they do that? No people with the majority of the vote changed the law that benefited them, including white people. Why would women do that? This is one privilege that black women are loving right now. I'm not changing that. Oh, all I got to do is get rid of my man. Peace, bye. And I get to jump on many different other ones, ride a carousel. I'll do that. And I'll tote my independence. you know, but they bought me. I'm sold out of the whole family thing. I done sold out. It is not all the men's fault. Now, is there some bums out there who don't want to take care of their kids? Absolutely. There are some out there. I know some situations where that is a thing. Okay, where that is a thing. And a lot of the men are not. And it's a cycle. So what happens is the women choose the privileges over the man. They raise the kids by themselves. The kids grow up belligerent without their father in the household. They go out and do Pookie and Ray Ray stuff. They can't keep a woman. A woman say, I don't want this kind of man because he was raised with no moral scruples or responsibilities. So I'm going to stay single. She gets pregnant. She has kids without no man, and the cycle continues. The cycle continues. This is how they separated the black family. It wasn't always like this. There were a lot of responsible men in the household raising their kids, but that generation is gone now. That was the boomers, maybe past the boomers. So, this is when I think the doc is being a little disingenuous because he's a smart guy. He knows it's systemic. I find it hard to believe that he can't put these two and two together. But anyway, let's go back in.
Don't get a Pookie if you didn't allow a Pookie.
But she got an Eli. She ain't come to Eli. She went to Pookie, and that's what we're trying to say.
She wouldn't have had a Pookie if we didn't allow one.
I worked too hard in my life.
Right.
She wouldn't have had a Pookie if we didn't allow one.
But Dr. Umar, we
men supposed to make raise the boys.
Right. We as men is holding other men accountable for the same thing that you talking about right now.
What are we doing for the young brothers in the street? So
what you mean, mentoring them? Now I mean, he's a great father.
Mm-hmm. I ain't talking about that's individual. That's good, but that's individualism. Yeah. What are we doing collectively as men to change the trajectory for black boys in the streets right now? Nothing.
We're being
but
a voice.
Talking shit.
Yeah, I mean, you could take it.
Now that is bullshit, okay? And we're doing nothing to change men in the community. Like I said, man, it's systemic. Even if black men did that, let's say black men did that. We had group think, we had group talk, we had things like that. We raised all the boys. All the boys are upstanding. You will have maybe 50% of all black women get married instead of 25%. But that other 50% is still going to choose the system and stay married to the system. You can have all black men perfect, but unless they're making a certain amount of money to offset the system, and let's face it, some women just don't want to live with a man. They just don't want to live because they don't like the idea of waking up to the same dude. They don't like the idea of a man ruling the house. They love being the king of their house. Woman king. That's why the movie came out. They feel like the woman king. Okay? The ruler of their domain. Even if men did that, you'll get 50% of the black women who get married. The other 50 still would choose the system. The only way to change that is if you change the laws to have a bit of dependency from the women to the men. You want more black fathers in the household? Make it so that it's beneficial for the man to be in the household instead of out of the household. You can do that with laws. Again, country dictates culture. Period. Let's go back in.
It's not going to get better unless we put hands on deck. The reason the athletes and the rappers are the role models is the professional black man moved out the hood. Where the dentist at? He ain't in the black community no more. Where the lawyer at? Where the business owner at? Where your city council person at? We abandon black boys, and then we blame black men for poor choices in mates that they should not even have to make if we did a better job raising our boys the right way. At the end of the day, if I'm gonna call myself a man, the ultimate responsibility for reconstruction of the black community rests with me. Yes, they have a role. Yes, they have responsibility. But as a man, as a leader, to say I can't fix this shit unless she changes, that's not the definition of a man.
I don't see.
I don't think that defines the definition of a man. I truly don't. Because the best man in the world can't force himself in the household with a woman. He can't force himself. If she don't want to be married, she's not going to be married. If she don't want to live with a dude, she's not going to live with a dude. He is asking for the impossible. There are degenerates in every race. Degenerate Mexican men, degenerate white men, degenerate Asian men, okay? Drunks, drug addicts, whatever. Even in the black community. You're not going to fix all men. You're just not. So this whole thing of black men being degenerates and all this stuff, it's ridiculous. Change the laws and you will see more of a turnaround than with any other change you make. Because once it becomes law, they don't have that advantage of, now some might say, oh, what are you suggesting, Mike? Men don't take care of their kids, they don't pay child support. No, because the fact of the matter is, I don't think child support is for the child. I think child support is to help the woman have a household separate from the man. Okay? Now, a man can still take care of a child. Just give joint custody. Bam. Joint custody. The kid stays with you one half of the year. Kid stays with the mother the other half of the year. What about school? Okay, well, we reconstruct school. How about that? We reconstruct school. School is, instead of having it, 6 months or whatever, or 8 months, we'll do it like this. We'll have school 3 months per half a semester. We'll let the kid live with the mother the first half of the semester. We'll let the kid live with the father the second half of the semester. What about different schools and different, every kid is going through this. It ain't gonna be a problem. They'll live. Joint custody. Nobody has to exchange a dollar. That's never gonna happen. Why? Because the real reason for child support is so the mother can stay separate from the father. And she can afford her own house, her own cars, her own furniture, her own life. She can be, quote unquote, independent. That's the real reason for child support. They claim it's because they care about the kids. They don't care about the kids, because I'm going to tell you, if the father don't visit the kids, they don't got shit to say about that. If the fathers don't visit these kids, if the father is not getting visitation, if the mother is keeping the kid away from the father, they don't care about none of that. All they care about is the money part of it, because the goal is to keep y'all separated. All this would change with the stroke of a pen in law. It's never going to happen because the goal is to double and triple consumerism. And people got to remember, this country is a corporation. And nothing is above profit. Absolutely nothing. As a country, we have to maintain profit. As a corporation, we have to maintain profit. And whatever we got to do to maximize that, we're going to do it. So this whole, we got to do better. That's all bull. It's all bull. I'm sorry. Let's go back.
I think we're on two different accords. I don't think we're saying that. What I'm saying is I'm capable of being that leader, that provider. I've worked hard in my life. You get what I'm saying? I should not have to do.
You still go back to individualism.
But I only feel like we tell black men that we have to now deal with masculine women with children.
Why is she masculine? Because she's had to raise the kids alone. Not one.
No, she's masculine because she can afford. She's playing a masculine role. She can afford to be masculine because she's being rewarded for being masculine. Okay, that's why she's not incentivized to be feminine and be taken care of. She's feminized to be a man. It ain't because of the men, what the men do. The men didn't do nothing. Listen, the men didn't do nothing to the women to this scale. I'm not saying all black men are perfect. Hell no. Everybody know black men got a lot of problems, especially in this generation because of the cycle that we're in. Okay? We're in the cycle. So all of the fathers who, couldn't be raised by their fathers, they're now adults now, and they ain't got no sense. So we're in that degenerate cycle. But it ain't because of the men. Let's go back.
One woman,
So
brother,
you mean to tell me
a whole community.
So you mean to tell me the only woman I could look forward in my life is a masculine woman that has kids by other men?
No,
that's what I have to look forward to.
But I'm telling you, mistakes made by black men systemically gave rise to the conditions that allowed her to be masculine and made her end up with a man that you consider to be less than what he should be. And I'm telling you, black men are responsible for her being masculine because we have not helped her raise them children. When I say help them raise them children, I don't mean you as the stepdad. I mean you as an active member in the community where we go to every single parent black mother and say, how many sons you got? 2? How many sons you got? 2? Well, guess what? That's your son's big brother. That's your son's big brother.
Black men didn't do anything different than any other race of man. Let me say that again. Black men didn't do anything different than any other man, any other race of men. As a matter of fact, what is it? The 50s and 60s, black men were married more. Black people were married more than other races. It wasn't until the system implemented privileges for women to separate them. Black men didn't do anything different than any other race. Now, some might say, well, why hasn't white women hey, white women are doing this too. White women are becoming more masculine. White women are doing all this too. But it's not to our level because they don't have the other baggage and they still can ride their racial privilege. They figure it's cool being white. Okay, so let me ride that wave out too. I don't want to give up everything. Okay, I know that the men in my culture do have a lot of power. So I'm not going to, it benefits me less to benefit off the system than it does black women. Black women, it benefits them the most to deal with the system. because they don't have other social constructs to help them along. Okay? But the white women know that, hey, our men controlling everything is, we'll get funky with them, but not too funky with them, okay? Because we know at the end of the day they still running things. But let me say it again. Black men have done nothing different than any other man. It's just that our women see the value in staying with us less than other cultures, because other cultures have a different set of privileges that they are riding with, and it's less beneficial for them to benefit from the system when they can benefit from their people and their culture. Let's go back in.
He taking them to school. He doing the homework. He gonna spend a couple hours with them every Saturday. He got his own kids too, but he gonna make time for you. She got masculine because she had to become masculine in order to deal with the rape, the abuse, the domestic violence, the disappointments that men had in her life, and also raising those kids and having to take care of herself all at the same time. The black woman has been the be all in all in our community for half of a century, and now we want to turn around and say because she didn't do it perfectly enough or remain feminine enough when she had to absorb our responsibilities plus her own, that's insensitive and disingenuous.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I can't.
I mean, I guess I do understand what you're saying.
I'm not taking
You
nothing
have
back from
yet
that.
to tell me something that we've done systemically to combat that. Because you keep saying me and her. I don't care about me and her.
But there's plenty
women and men. Women and men as a group in the community. You understand?
Right.
We gave birth to that. You see? So you say she had a couple kids already because she met men. She probably thought they was good. Some of them. They left her.
She knew they wasn't good.
You don't know that, bro.
She knew they wasn't good.
You're
bro.
making
You know what I'm saying?
assumptions about her. Would you make the same assumption if she was a white woman?
Yes, I would.
So you say.
No,
Come on, man. Nah. Come on.
Listen,
All women accountable.
So you say.
Listen, like I said, I feel like as a black
We
man,
don't hold them all accountable because black men date outside their race more than every other man put together.
I said we.
Y'all three.
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
I
But
can't disprove that because I don't know you personally.
Even that,
But
if we look at the numbers, black men marry black women at an 87% rate, where black women marry outside of their race, or they marry outside at a 92%.
black women
That's
do
only
not. No, you're wrong.
That's percentages
You're
apart.
wrong.
That's not that much.
Black women do not marry out the race more than black men.
I'm
That's
not
wrong.
saying that, but the percentages
Black
ain't that
women,
far off. That's what I'm
black
saying.
women have one of the highest, fastest growing interracial marriage rates. But her interracial marriage rate pales in comparison to what black men have been doing interracially for 4 or 5 decades. You understand? She don't even come close to what we're doing
And
interracially.
black fathers are in the home more than any other group or race.
Okay. But what
That has no value.
it does have value, but we're going to put that up against the other statistic. 2/3 of our kids are being raised by the women. 2/3 of our kids are being raised by the women. And like I said, when I say being raised, I'm not saying it needs to be a father. I would like a father in that house.
Yeah.
But I know it's not enough of us to go around.
Yeah.
We are not even being accountable to the boys in the hood. And we're complaining about the women
I argue with women
who
all
are
the
making babies
Yeah,
with the irresponsible men that we didn't raise correctly. That's bullshit.
All right.
That's wimp ass weak man shit. Take responsibility for our shit. Stop scapegoating them.
Yeah, I could agree. I could agree to that.
All I'm saying is look at all we could be doing better, man. Half the black boys in the 4th grade can't read. Well,
I wish I was on this show. I'd hand it to the doc. You know, I would hand it to the doc. I'd give him the business. I'd be like, listen, bruh, you got it all wrong. Not all wrong, but you got some of it wrong, especially when it comes to the family dynamics in the black household. How could you not see the systemic issues that we up against, okay? Black fathers are some of the most active fathers there is. It's nothing that the black man did that was so different than what other men have done to their women. The only difference is the other women are benefiting from other things. They're benefiting from being white. They're benefiting from being Latina. They can kind of ride that white coattail when they get ready to, you know, and you know, they passed the brown paper bag test. So They may get a couple. Now, I'm not saying that they don't work hard, and I'm not saying that. They do work hard, but at the same time, come on, brother. You're making it seem as though this is all the black man's doing. It's not. That's an effect. That's not the cause. Let's keep it real. Anyway, let's go in.
What black men doing about that systemically?
Not enough.
I know what I'm doing about it. I'm building
agree.
a school for it, 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
But systemically, as black men, what are we doing about that? Nothing. Black boys are the most unemployed teenager in America. What black men doing about that?
Not
See, the
as much.
Pookie and Ray
Not
Ray
as
you
much.
kept talking about?
Mm-hmm.
We letting them raise right before our eyes, and then we want to criticize her for ending up with one when we should have made sure there were none.
Listen, we all got choices. Just like if I choose to live a lifestyle,
You're dealing with individualism again. I can't
But that's
deal with
part
that.
of choices.
No, it's not. We have to deal with this systemically. He brought up a question earlier, and he said, did we make these problems on our own, or was there some systemics involved? It was systemics.
Okay.
In 1970, they shut down the factories. They took out the industrial building jobs. 1980, dropped off the crack and the AIDS. 1990, the Bill Clinton crime bill. There's systemic factors at play. You totally divorce your analysis from any systemic factors at all. You ain't mentioned one. You keep talking about her and Pookie and Ray Ray with the kids. You ain't said shit about the systemics. That's exactly what white folks want you to do. That's what white folks want you to do.
I'm saying that
Ignore
I have made-
what I've done to your women and scapegoat her. Because that's what she's doing to you. She's ignoring what the system did to you. And she's going to scapegoat you.
And
We're both scapegoating each other.
Okay, that's fair. That's
Your
fair.
analysis is feeding the gender war. It's not solving it.
Listen,
I don't mind us holding the
Right.
women accountable. I don't mind us holding the men accountable.
right.
Yeah.
But when we going to hold the system accountable as well?
Exactly. That's what I've been saying, Doc. It's the system. But why can't? So what is this? All this preaching about the men? What is all this preaching about what the men doing and we're not doing enough of this and what are we doing systemically and all this other stuff? If you know it's the system, stop being disingenuous, bruh. You just contradicted your own point. You just contradicted your own point. And I'm going to point that out for you, okay? I've been saying that the whole freaking time. Anyway, let's go in.
And if we're going to hold the system accountable, that also means we got to make our own systems too. Black men have not been manly in quite some time when it comes to raising boys.
How would you suggest that black men take on the role of leadership
Especially when there's an attack on black masculinity.
without women willing to listen to us? You get what I'm saying? How do we prove our worth or take back the
Take
leadership
care of the boys.
role?
You want the women back? Take care of these damn boys. They run in the hood, killing people at will, flunking out of school, following the lead of the gangster rappers. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can do that ain't got nothing to do with the women, boys and men. Do you understand? Deal with the boys and the men. Leave her out of it and go straight to the boys. And you'll get her respect back. Give them jobs, give them education, give them training, give them your time. They not getting none of that from black men. We don't give a shit about black boys. And then we're gonna get mad at her for ending up with one later in life. It's ridiculous.
Not,
You
like I said,
create
we
the product and get mad for her for ending up consuming the product.
she could consume whatever she wants. I'm just saying, as a black man,
It's not about her consuming whatever she wants, brother, because if we're trying to fix the black community, everybody and everything matters. It's
And that's
not individual.
understandable.
You're an
But what-
individualist. You're not thinking as a community. Your whole analysis is based on me and her. Step out of that shit. This is systems at play. You understand?
Right.
Multiple black men screwed up. Multiple black women screwed up. You understand me? Look at the systemic nature and say, what's
See, when he says system, it's a system issue. It's a system at play. He talking about the black system. I'm talking about the governmental system. Okay, maybe that's where our differences are. He talking about the black system. I'm talking about the governmental system. One of the things that I respect about the Nation of Islam is that the Nation of Islam really had what I would consider pretty much a blueprint on how black people should be doing things. Now, I'm not talking about the religion itself. I'm talking about the lifestyle that they were living over there. The women were covered. The women were very loyal to their men. There wasn't out here twerking in videos and wearing all these colored hairs and nails and all. They were classy women that were disciplined, that were not about superficiality. They were not about any of that, being noticed, getting attention. It wasn't about none of that. And the men were upstanding, wore suits. The Nation of Islam is a great model of how it should go back to. I'm not talking about the religion. I'm just talking about the lifestyle. But in order to buy into that, women have to feel like they're getting something out of that. And men have to be disciplined enough to for that to happen too. But again, I think the doc is being disingenuous because he keep talking about the system. Now, if you want to emulate a system, emulate that system. But he's talking about a black system. I'm talking about a governmental system that made it this way. Okay? He needs to acknowledge the governmental system because that's where the issue is. Let's go in.
System do we need to create as black men to prevent the Pookie and Ray Ray from coming into existence?
Or I, as a black man, can just look for a woman that is healed, that is leading in her femininity, that doesn't have a child by another woman.
But that doesn't solve community problems. We're talking about community solutions. That's individualism.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, and there you have it. The interview with Doc Umar Johnson. Shout out to Dr. Umar Johnson. I still rock with the brother real heavy on a lot of the things that he talks about. But when he gets into the family and the black and white, the black and man and woman, it gets a little shaky for me with that. I don't think that he's seeing that as clear. And this is why a lot of the guys on the panel is like pushing back on them, giving them pushback, because they probably feel the same way I do, but they don't know how to, explain that. And they kind of gave them an out and maybe just didn't have those rebuttals prepared for Doc. So he kind of talked over them and kind of, pushed his agenda forward, because he's the guest. So he's going to do that. But if I was there, I would have pushed back on him and I would have, gave him some, what I would consider some decent rebuttals. All that being said, I really would like to know what y'all think about this interview. What do you think about the stuff that I said? Am I off on something? I'd like to know that. I'm not above reproach. Put it in the comments what you think about what I said. Hit the like, share, and subscribe. All right. I will catch you in the next one. Peace.